okay? Okay, today I thought I'd share my testimony with you lot. I've never shared my testimony in full before, in public. When I've done one-to-one witnessing, then I have. This is the first time I've ever shared it in full. So if I make mistakes or whatever, then I apologize. And I guess a lot of you who are here today, who know me, are very eager to hear my testimony. Well, I hope you are, because otherwise you'll get very bored over the next few minutes. And some of you here that aren't Christians, you're probably thinking, oh great, here we go, another sad story of how somebody used to live a bad life, and then they met God, and then they became a good person, and you're probably thinking that you've heard it all before. But yeah, to a point you're right, it is another story about somebody lived a life without purpose, and then they met God, and now they live their life for God. And this is my testimony to you that God does exist, and the immense amount of love which He has for each and every one of you. Everything I'm about to say, it's not a fairy tale, it's not made up, it happened, it's true. Not many people who I've spoken to believe me when I tell them. And I hope that God uses this testimony in whatever way He wants to with each of you. Since I became a Christian, almost 4 years ago, I've always fancied myself as a modern day Paul. Not Paul Chesterman from this church, but Paul from the Bible. How did it start? Well, it started before I was born with my name. A lot of people ask me how I got my name, and the reason for that is this. I have an older sister and 2 younger brothers, and my sister's name is Sunita, and then my brother's names are Sunil and Sanjay, and then you have Abraham. So people ask, where did Abraham come from? And why is it that I've got a biblical name and everyone else in my family's got traditional Indian names? Well, when my sister's 1 year older than me, and when my mom was 3 months pregnant with me, she had a dream. And in her dream, she was standing there in the park, and she saw a group of nuns pushing a pushchair. And inside the pushchair was a baby boy. And my mom began staring at this baby, and then out of nowhere she heard a voice, and the voice of a man, and the voice said, "Why are you looking at that baby?" And my mom turned around, and there's a man standing there, just all in white. And my mom began to stare at this man, and he said to her, "You two will soon have a son, and you have to call him Abraham." And then she woke up, and my mom didn't mention this dream to anybody. And remember, she was only 3 months pregnant at the time. And time went by, and eventually I was born. And the nurse asked my mom and dad, "What do you want to call him?" And my dad had planned to call me Sunil for a very long time, because I think there's a cricketer called Sunil Gavaskar or something, and he was his favourite cricketer. But my mom said no. She said, "We need to name him Abraham." And my dad got quite surprised by this. And then my mom told him about the dream she had when she was only 3 months pregnant. And I think my dad was a bit scared. And at this point, my dad had only been a Christian for around a year. And so he brought this up before his church pastor. He used to attend the church on Victoria Road. And the church pastor said to him, "Look, if that's what happened, then you should name him Abraham." So they did. Well, you may be thinking, okay, she had a dream, so what? A lot of people dream. But the most amazing thing about this, and the reason why none of you can say it's not true, is this. When my mom was 3 months pregnant, she wasn't a Christian. In fact, she was a practicing Hindu, and she had never ever picked up the Bible in her life. She never heard the name Abraham before. And back in them days, that's making me sound a bit old now, back in them days, you couldn't tell if it was going to be a baby boy or a girl, and yet this man in a dream said to her, "You're going to have a son." And when I look back at this now, to me, that was clearly from the Lord. My mom later went on, 12 years later I think it was, to become a Christian. Now after hearing that, those of you that don't know me here, you probably think that I went on to do a PhD in theology by the time I was 7, or I started preaching in front of thousands of people by the time I was 8. In fact, I went the complete opposite way. When I say the complete opposite way, I really do mean the complete opposite way. Those of you who attend the church or have met me after I became a Christian, you probably think, this kid must have been a nice kid. I hope so. I was nowhere near a nice kid. From the ages of 11 to 21, I was an absolute horrible person. And yes, I came to church every Sunday and I acted all nice and innocent and honest. But it was just like an act. You know, I was putting on an act. And what I was doing outside of the church, but when I was 11 to 21, were things which I don't ever want to bring up again. And the only reason I survived and I didn't get arrested or even killed is because now when I look back at it, God was watching over me then. Another reason why I don't want to bring these things up is because I can see my mom's face now, and I don't want her to beat me when I get home. Sitting in this church, I would say there's only 2 people that actually knew what I was like when I was 11 to 21. To sum it up, let's just say I was hanging around with the wrong crowd, and these people are a lot older than me. And when you're a kid and people are older than you, you want to do whatever you can to impress them. And now most of these are locked up for armed robbery or drugs and whatever. I was not a good guy, but the worst thing was when the opportunity came to do something I knew I shouldn't be doing, I got like a buzz from me, and I just wanted to do it. Also throughout my childhood, especially my teen years, I really suffered a lot with anger. I used to get angry really quickly. Like if somebody said anything to me or crossed me, I just want to kill them. And again, I've got examples of that, but I don't really want to bring them up again. From my early childhood, when I was 11, I would come to church every week. And I used to come to church and I got so bored. But when I started going to secondary school, especially towards the end of secondary school, this boredom in church actually turned to hatred for church. And I think at the age of 16 to 21, I developed a real hatred for church and for Christians. And I would look at Christians and I would just think, what clowns. I would think that they're just a waste of space on this earth, that there are no points on this earth. And I just regard them as a waste of space. And the more I went to church, the more this hatred within me grew. From the age of 17, I was determined to prove that Christianity was false, that it didn't exist. And all these Christians were just these people that they just believed in this God. So if something bad goes on in their life, they got somewhere to run to and hide. And I would just look at these Christians and I would laugh to myself and I would think to myself, how can you believe everything just because a book tells you to do so? How could you believe just because a book tells you to do so? And the older I got, I started to develop these questions. One question was, if the world was made perfect, then how did the world end up how it is today? Another question I used to ask was, if God knew everything before he even created the world, and he knew that he was going to have to send his son to die on the cross for us, and he knew that people were going to go against him, then why did he bother? But there's one question that really used to bother me, and that was this. If God knows everything, and he already knows who's going to come to him and who's not, and that all those who come to him will have eternal life, but all those who don't will go to hell, then what was the point of him creating all the people he knew that were not going to come to him and would end up in hell? That question really used to get to me, and I used to think, how can these clowns believe things which they can't even give me answers for? Some of you may ask, why did you come to church for so many years and if you weren't a Christian? I came to church for one reason growing up, and that was simply I respect my dad. My dad asked one thing of us, and that was that we attend church as we grow up. When I was 18, I was involved in a relationship with this girl for 3.5 years, and it was a complete waste of time. All it did, it just really pushed me further and further away from God, into believing that he didn't exist, because I would think that this God who's supposed to be almighty and all loving, why would he put me through the things I went through in that relationship? And at this point I was 21 years old, and I love life. I love life. I was doing whatever I wanted, even though it was in secret. And I thought that, this is great, but now when I look back at myself, I was absolutely lost. I was completely gone, and I'd hate to think if that continued, where I would be today. But thankfully it didn't. Now you may be thinking, how did this guy change his life around? This guy that hated Christians, wanted to prove Christians wrong, he hung around with the wrong crowd. How did he change his life around? Now after what I've just said, this is where I really need to be on form. Because if I'm not, I can see my own face again. So yeah, I need to be on form. So how did my life change around? How did my change begin? Well, I met a girl. And this girl 4 years later, she's still my girlfriend. I don't know why. And most of you know her, but for those of you that don't, I'm not going to point her out because I don't want her to get embarrassed. And so how did we meet? Well, most of you know that I play badminton at a decent standard, and I do a lot of badminton coaching also. But back in my first year of uni, in 2009, I joined the badminton team, and in December 2009 there was a tournament going on, and my coach asked me to play in it, but I said no first, and then as time got closer I said okay fine, and I entered. And when I got to this tournament, it was in Nichos, I got to this tournament and you had 4 courts on this side and 4 courts on this side, and they had a massive curtain down the middle, and because they're Asians, they're sexist like this, so they had the men's matches over here and then the ladies matches over here. And me and a few of my friends, we were just sitting there on the men's half watching some of our friends playing their matches, and we were just sitting there, and all of a sudden from the women's side we heard a shuttle being hit properly. Have any of you ever heard what a shuttle sounds like when it's hit properly? Well, those of you that don't, I'm just going to give you a quick demo. Dave. This is Dave. Round of applause for Dave. Dave is a very good friend of mine. He's also my doubles partner. We played in tournaments in Belgium together and we won. We played in tournaments in this country together and we've lost. He's a much better player than me, okay? So if you show me up, watch outside. Okay? So we're just going to give you a quick demo of how what a shuttle sounds like, okay? Scott, you ready? Yeah. Ready? Okay, just listen for the sound, okay? One up. Hold the back. Yeah, this is just a bit more of a get ready catch. Yeah, so me and my friends were just sitting and this is what we had. We had a shuttle being hit properly and we just looked at each other and we thought, no way is that a woman. No woman can hit the shoulder like that. And you know, this curtain is a very big curtain. It's one of them. We just had a net at the top, so you couldn't see the people. But we looked up and we could see the flight of the shuttle and it was going beautifully. You know, the shuttle was being hit. Fantastic. So me and my friends don't forget this. Let's go over to the girls' side and see what's happening. So we went through this curtain and the first 3 courts, there was like girls playing their matches and they were hitting a shuttle how you'd expect a woman to hit the shuttle. and then on the last court, we saw the culprit. We saw just who he was hitting the shuttle. And I just looked and I began to stare. And I just thought, wow, what a shot. And then I looked a bit lower and I thought, she's not too bad either. And then I decided I need to get this girl's number. So I asked a few of my friends who knew her, and they said, her name's Jess, she's from Loughborough Uni. Those of you that don't know Loughborough Uni, it's one of the top unis in the country for sports. So some of my friends called her over, and she began talking, and they introduced us. And at this point, I was very sweaty, and I didn't even play a game yet. And Jess started talking to me about her course, and I began to think to myself, hang on, this sounds a lot like my course. So I asked her, what does she do? And she said she does a joint degree in chemistry and sports science. And straight away I thought, man, this girl is perfect. She's good at sports, and she's good looking, she studies sport and science. And I told her that I'm in my first year of sports science. And straight away, we began talking about the course. And then Jess, she just began to talk. And I just thought to myself, well, I guess it's true, all women are the same, they never show up. And then Jess got called to play a match, so I said, I'll watch. And I began to watch her match, and I was amazed at how good she was, considering she was a girl. And then I went back to the men's half to play my own match, and I couldn't think properly, so I just gave the game in. And I thought, oh, good, I could spend the rest of the day talking to her. But then when I went to go find her, my friend came up to me and said, let's go. And I had to go with him because he was my lift home. So I said to him, man, give me a minute. And I ran around this hall like a lunatic, trying to find her. I couldn't see her anywhere. And just when I was about to leave, I saw her by the door, getting something out of her bag. And I thought, that's it, this is my chance, I could get something out of this. And I went up to her and I tapped her on her back. And I just said, well, it was nice meeting you. And I thought she would have said something like, yeah, it was nice meeting you too. And keep in touch, here you go, have a hug. You know, like most girls do. But instead, she got her badminton racket and said, yeah, see you later. I went on the court and started playing a match. And I got home, yeah, and all I could think about was this girl. So I decided to make a Facebook account. And I made this account and I quickly added a few people so I didn't look like a weirdo. And then I added Jess. And remember, this was in early December 2009. And the next few weeks until Christmas, all me and Jess did was talk on Facebook. And eventually asked her for a number, and then she gave me a number, then we started talking on the phone. And one of the things she told me about herself at the time was that she was a Christian. But at that time, I just looked past it all and I thought nothing of it at that moment. And then in early January 2010, I asked Jess to come to Birmingham, start kind of a banter match against each other. And when I think about it, she's a bit mad because she had only known me for 3 weeks, maybe for 5 minutes, and then she came all the way to Birmingham to meet a stranger. So don't do that again. Those of you that know me well will know that me and my dad have quite a rivalry in badminton. We played this morning and I won 3-2. But anyway, I told my dad about this. I said to my dad, yeah, she's from Loughborough, she's a friend, and she's coming down just to play me. First thing my dad said to me, he goes, why are you wasting your time and money to play against a woman? And you know what my dad said? My dad said that he said he'd come down around 12 o'clock just to give her a game as well. So I said, okay. And in badminton, the thing I'm known for is my smash. And I thought to myself, there's no way I can smash that shot at her because it's not going to be fair. She won't get it back, and if I hit her, I could hurt her. So I promised myself at night that I won't smash a shot at her. And you know, I went out, I got a haircut, I had a shave, I put deodorant, I had a shower, everything. And yeah, I went to the train station, I picked her up at the train station. And she came off the train eating a burger and fries at 10 o'clock in the morning. And the worst thing is she didn't offer me any. And I just thought to myself, no way is this girl going to beat me. So we got there, warmed up, and I just thought, here we go. I'll start off nice and easy. And the next thing you know, I lost the first game 21-6. And then I ended up losing the first 3 games. I was 3-0 down, and I couldn't feel my legs anymore. I couldn't breathe anymore. And I just thought, that's it, I have to bring my smash out now. So I hit this shot as hard as I could, and I'm telling you, the harder I hit it, the further it came back. And my dad walked in during the 8th game, and my dad walks in looking all cocky, with his big bracky out, was really arrogant, chewing the chewing gum, looks like a real Batman. And we had to finish 8th game, and Jess won, she was 8-0 up. And my dad looked at me, and my t-shirt was soaking wet, I was gone. They looked at Jess. Then he paused and they said, I have to go back to work now. I'm not joking, he walked out that hall quicker than I've ever seen him move. And then, after 3 hours, I lost 10-0. And the rest of the day, we spent the rest of the day together, just chilled. And, you know, when the day came to an end, I became really sad because I don't know when I'm going to see her again. And I thought, that's it, I need to make this girl my girlfriend now. So for the next 4 months, we talked every day on the phone. And you know, I was dropping so many chat-up lines. I even went to Google and typed in chat-up lines, and you know, yeah, I see it, I'm not joking. Actually, that's the reason I use them. And I spoke so romantically to her, so sweetly to her, everything. And in the 4 months, Jess came down to Birmingham a few more times. We met up. And I thought, right, I need to ask her out now. I was thinking, this girl loves me. Yeah, she loves me. All I got to do is ask her like that, she'll say yes. So I'm telling you, I dropped so many chat-up lines. I felt so romantic that I could have pulled any other woman sitting in this hall. But not Jess. We had known each other for about 5 months, and one night in April 2010, I told her that I liked her and I asked her would she be my girlfriend. And she just went into complete shock, horror.